Echoes of the Atlantic. Get him away from me. This child is just a cursed reminder. If it weren't for him, Liam would be here. I will never forgive this. Scarlett's voice was on the verge of hysteria, but she refused to give in to tears. Little Noah, who was crying desperately, was quickly taken out of the room. The staff hoped the young mother would come to her senses by tomorrow morning and let her heart soften. Scarlett lay with her face buried in the hotel room pillow. Her grief was immense. But this rage. Why blame the baby? Just a week ago, she and Liam were laughing on the slopes of the Swiss Alps, celebrating her successful defense of her architecture degree and his promotion. Liam had always dreamed of being a father, and they chose a name for their son together. And today, he was gone. And the one to blame, she was convinced, was only this tiny, unwelcome heir. They met in Boston, at the university, where Liam studied marine engineering. They were inseparable from the first day they met in the student cafe. And at the age of 21, before starting their master's programs, they decided to marry. Their wedding was quiet, just on the ocean shore, but full of promises. When Scarlett became pregnant, Liam was madly happy. He monitored her every step, afraid she would get tired. The problems started unexpectedly. Scarlett was delayed at London Airport due to a cancelled flight while returning from a business meeting. She called Liam, and he, without hesitation, decided to pick her up himself. He boarded the family's private plane, piloted by their personal pilot, to be by her side as soon as possible. Due to poor visibility over the Atlantic, their small aircraft crashed. The pilot survived, but Liam was only found the next day. If it weren't for my delay, he wouldn't have flown so hastily. If it weren't for this child, I wouldn't have had to go to that urgent project. This son took him away. In the morning, feeling drained, Scarlett wrote a short note saying she could not take responsibility for the child and fled the private clinic in Zurich. Noah cried, and his wail echoed down the corridors, moving the nurses. He must feel abandoned, the poor little thing, whispered the head nurse. Liam's parents, Eleanor and George, begged Scarlett to reconsider, offering any help, but she was adamant. She moved to New York, completely immersed herself in work and research, trying to bury her pain in blueprints and concrete. Eleanor and George took their grandson and moved to an estate on the California coast. 5 years later, at a major architectural symposium, Scarlett met Ethan, a talented urbanist. Their conversations about city planning and art lasted until morning. Ethan was quiet but determined, and for the first time in a long while, he managed to break through the icy wall around her heart. They married. They had a daughter, Emily. Looking at her, Scarlett recalled her first son every time. What is he like now? Does he resemble Liam? Her heart finally found the strength to forgive the circumstances, not the child. One evening, she dared to tell Ethan everything. Ethan listened to her in silence, without interrupting. Scarlett, a child needs a mother. You can blame yourself for being delayed, or Liam for rushing. It was fate, or an accident. No one is to blame, least of all an innocent baby. Scarlett found Eleanor's old phone number. After a few rings, there was silence. Eleanor. It's Scarlett. I would like to see Noah. Eleanor was silent, and Scarlett heard a quiet sob in the receiver. He is no longer with us, Scarlett. Please don't call us again, George's dry, male voice answered. It's too painful for us to hear from you. Scarlett dropped the phone and burst into tears. He died. They didn't even want to talk. Ethan hugged her, saying nothing. Another 5 years passed. Emily grew up to be a lively, curious girl, but she loved taking risks. Scarlett barely had time to look away before Emily was standing on the balcony railing. We have to watch her constantly, sighed Scarlett. At night, Scarlett had the same dream. She was in the hotel screaming those terrible words, and hearing Noah's cry. Scarlett, we need to go to California, to that town. We'll try to find his grave. I know Liam's parents don't want to talk, but we need to try to find it ourselves for your peace of mind, Ethan said one day. Thank you for being in my life. Scarlett sobbed. In the summer, taking a vacation, the family traveled to California. As they drove towards the coastline, Ethan stopped the car. Look, what a view of the Pacific Ocean. Let's sit by the cliffs for a bit. Take a break." They left the car and descended to a small sandy cove. The cliffs were high, and the Atlantic waves crashed here with particular force. "It's wonderful, we could sit here forever," Scarlett thought to herself. But where is Emily? Looking back to where Emily had just been collecting seashells, Scarlett didn't see the child. She and Ethan both jumped up simultaneously. "Emily! Emmy!" they shouted. "Mom! Dad! Look what I can do!" Emily was standing on a very narrow, high rock ledge above the turbulent tide and swaying, arms spread like a bird. "Emily! Stop! Don't move!" The girl, playing, took another step, and the sandy soil under her feet crumbled. Emily fell down into the swirling water. A silent scream caught in Scarlett's throat. She saw another figure dive off the cliff after Emily, an older boy. Ethan, without taking off his clothes, also plunged into the turbulent ocean after them. He shouted, trying to overcome the roar of the surf. "Emily! Hold on!" Scarlett stood on the edge of the precipice, her feet rooted to the ground. She saw Ethan bravely fighting the elements, and that stranger who had jumped in first. The boy seemed to be a teenager or a young man, very thin, but incredibly fast. He managed to grab Emily, who was already losing consciousness, right at the base of the cliff before she was dragged into the open ocean. Ethan reached them. Together, they began pulling Emily toward a small rock shelf where the water was slightly calmer. Scarlett finally awoke from her stupor. She ran back to the car, grabbing the first aid kit and a blanket. When she returned, Ethan and the stranger had already pulled Emily out. The girl coughed but was breathing. Ethan lay next to them, exhausted. "Oh God, thank you." Scarlett rushed to her daughter, wrapping her in the blanket. Then she turned to the boy, who stood there, soaked to the bone, his gaze fixed on the ocean. How did you do that? You saved her. What is your name?" The boy turned to her. He had incredibly familiar, grey-green eyes, just like Liam's. His face was pale, and his tired gaze was filled with a strange, adult sadness. "Noah," he answered simply. "My name is Noah. I often sit here." Scarlett felt the world around her stop. Noah. Her first son. The one she had mourned as dead. She dropped to her knees. "No. This is impossible," George said. "You were." Noah lowered his eyes to the sand. "I know what my grandfather said. They thought it would be better that way. For everyone." It turned out that George and Eleanor, mourning the loss of their son Liam, decided that the constant presence of a grandson abandoned by his mother would break their hearts. And after Scarlett called, they realized her return would only cause more pain and despair. To protect themselves, and, as they believed, to protect Scarlett from guilt, they told her Noah had died. They moved to this house by the cliffs to have a quiet life. Noah knew his mother had abandoned him but didn't know she had been looking for him. "I live here, with my grandparents," Noah quietly explained, nodding toward the large, grey house on top of the cliff. "I saw you drive up. And then, I saw her jump." Ethan stood up, walked to Scarlett, and put his hand on her shoulder, looking at the boy. "Noah, you are a hero. You saved our daughter." Scarlett raised her tear-streaked face and looked at the son she had considered lost twice. She saw Liam's features in him, his courage and strength. She crawled toward him and, without hesitation, embraced him. "My boy. Forgive me, Noah. Forgive me for everything." Noah, initially tense, hugged her back a moment later, albeit uncertainly. You are my real mother?" "Yes, I am your mother. And I will never leave you again," she whispered, looking at Emily, who was already smiling at her rescuer. "You saved your sister." In that moment, as Scarlett stood between her two children, and Ethan watched them all with love and understanding, she felt her decade-long burden of guilt finally dissolve. She came here to find a grave, and instead, she found the life she had rejected, and which had returned to save her new happiness. All the pain, all the loneliness and rage, it was all a consequence of an accident. And now that accident had been rectified by an act of unexpected, but unconditional forgiveness. The family slowly climbed the slope toward the house, where George and Eleanor were already waiting. It was a difficult reunion, full of unspoken words and tears, but thanks to Noah's courage, The bridges between the past and the present were rebuilt. The end.